have $1 million investment portfolio, but if I was starting again, what kind of tips and strategies would have helped me get closer to my goal? And what kind of advice would I have liked to have heard so that I didn't stumble as much? In this podcast episode, I'm going to be stepping back to when I was a beginner and sharing everything I wish I knew. I'm really excited for this episode. I hope you enjoy it. And for those watching on YouTube, look at my nails, guys. I love them so much. This is called... It's a girl in an OPI shade, and I got an aura ring. Look at this. And I'm recording in my bedroom, so you might notice a little bit different. I got these fake flowers. Are they not the most real thing? They're like the silk. Okay, all diversions aside, tip number 1 is investing is very anticlimactic. I remember starting my investing journey and I opened up an online broking account. And for those that are new, an online brokerage is like an online platform where you just type in, it's like Robinhood or Fidelity or Sharesies or eToro, like no matter where you're from in the world, we all have a few in our countries. And I remember signing up and you had to put in your identification. And that was the first time in my life that I ever signed up for something where I had to put in my bank card details and my bank account, but also verify that I'm who I am. And so it was a little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit scary. And I remember depositing money into the account and being really, really nervous. And then I think I put, from memory, I want to say 300 USD, which was at the time 500 New Zealand dollars, into Amazon shares. I have to say, I was so nervous and I was so oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. And I bought it and I'm in my pajamas. I'm in my house. Nothing happens. There was no confetti. There was no clapping. Warren Buffett did not enter my bedroom and pat me on the back and say, "Good job, kid." There was nothing that made me feel like I had achieved anything hard, but I was oh my God, I'm a shareholder. I'm an investor. I have voting rights in Amazon, but it just did not feel that way. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I really overhyped myself and I made it seem like it was going to be something that was really difficult. And if I could speak to my younger self again and sit her down and just look her in the eyes and be like, "Sim, I have news for you. 1, our skin gets better. Do not worry. And number 2, you are going to continue to invest and it's not going to feel exciting because exciting investing is not the kind of investment style that you are personally going to end up using. You are not a day trader. You are not going to buy low and sell high daily. You are not going to sit in front of a computer all day long. You're going to go live your life. You're going to go and get brunch with the girls. You're going to get Pilates. You're going to get your matcha. You're going to get your nails done, buy an aura ring. You are going to be okay. But to think that to be wealthy, you need to sit in front of a computer and invest and feel excited by it. That's not what investing is. In fact, I remember reading a bit later on that investing, if you're doing it properly, should be as exciting as watching paint dry. And I don't know about you, but I have personally never watched paint dry. When my family and I were painting my parents' house, now that I think about it, they saved so much money because painting can cost $9,000. And my dad was like, "Hey kids, here's the tape, put it around the windows. Here's the handle, the roller, and let's sand and let's paint this house." And my brother was growing quite tall at the time, so we didn't even need a ladder. We just let him paint to the ceiling. But I never sat there afterwards and watched it because watching paint dry is boring and watching your investments should feel boring. You should not be looking and logging into your account and going, "Oh my God, it's up, it's down, it's left, it's right." Investing is anticlimactic. We think it's going to be this crazy, fun, exciting thing, but that's not the fun and exciting part. The fun and exciting part is watching your money over long periods of time grow in a sustainable way, and then being able to say, "Oh my God, I do not need a job anymore because the investments that I have are bringing me an income." That's the exciting part, not the investing itself. And I wish I knew that when I had begun. The second thing I wish I knew when I began investing is that the individual companies that I'm going to be picking will sometimes do better than the funds that I've invested in. Because when you start investing and you read up information, if you go to university and learn about it there, or if you read it in books or you watch YouTube videos, people will continuously talk about the S&P 500, Vanguard, VOO, and they'll keep saying things like invest in broad market index funds. And that's essentially what I did. I mean, I keep 80 to 90% of my investments in broad market index funds. But when I was starting out, I invested in the funds, like large baskets filled with lots of different companies, and thought, okay, this is fun, this is easy. But I also was like really intrigued because on the website, when you're investing, you can see what everyone else is buying in terms of what are the most actively traded investments. So you can see like, oh, okay, like this company is doing really, really well. And this company, a lot of people are buying shares into, and lots of people are selling shares of this one. I mean, this was like before COVID. So I saw a lot of people buying like Tesla shares, and I saw a lot of people trading. I mean, do you remember Kathy Woods and her ARK funds? Like those were becoming quite popular. And even before that, I remember when I was starting out, like it was all about value investments and value funds and just trying to like do it the Warren Buffett way. I thought to myself, trying to be like very smart, trying to be very clever as a teenager, I was like, okay, well, yes, I'll buy these large baskets of funds, but I also want to buy a few individual shares. Like, I think people are kind of crazy for this guy, Elon. Remember, this is pre what's happening now. This is pre all of that. So I thought to myself, well, it seems like there's such a community and it's like a cult around this person and this brand. So I invested a lot of my money into Tesla, and my Tesla shares ended up going up 400%. I invested quite a bit into Palantir. My Palantir shares went up, I think, almost 1,000%, and then I sold them. And I think one of the key lessons that I wish I had known when I was getting started is, yes, your market investments that you make in large index funds are a really good place to start. And at the end of the year, you look at it and it might be 11% or 12%. But those individual companies that you invest in that do well, that might look like 40%, 50%, 60%. However, you have to be really careful, Sim. And some years you might get some really good companies, but do not for a second think that you are smarter than the market, and do not make these speculative investments larger than 10% of your investment portfolio. Like, sure, invest some money in those companies, those individual companies, and yes, some years they will do well, but do not think that you know better, and always keep it less than 10%. I just thought growing up that like you should only play it safe. And I think majority of the time I want to stick to that, but it is okay to like let loose a little bit. It's okay to be like, I know I shouldn't, but like, I don't know a good example in real life. It's like if you are looking for a partner and you go on dates and you're going and meeting like the steady, stable guys and you're like, okay, like this is nice. And then you go on like one date and the guy's crazy. And it's insane, but it's such a fun story to go back and tell your friends. Like maybe do that out of one of every 10 dates. Do you know what I mean? But this isn't something that you're going to do all the time. Same analogy, use it in the share market. Also, guys, I need you to know something about me. I talk the way gym bros talk a good game about gyms and then like have the smallest muscles. I talk a good game about dating. I don't even think I've been on 10 dates, but let me like live out my fantasy of like trying to use these analogies because it works in my brain and it makes sense. Now, tip number 3 of what I wish I could tell my younger self as she started investing is do not get overconfident in the industry that you are investing in. I think I needed to do this. I think I needed to learn my lesson. Like growing up, I remember my mum, she was like, do not touch the hot iron. Like ironing the clothes, that kind of iron. She's like, do not touch it. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do not touch it, Simran. And I was like, okay. And she was like, Simran, I need you to know this. Do not touch the iron. And I was like, okay. And then she like turned around and I touched the iron and I burnt my finger. And she retells that story a lot because she's like, sometimes there are people in this world, she's referring to me. She's like, there's people that need to learn things themselves. Like you can tell them, you can say, don't do this. And now that I think about it, I think this is just everyone. We can like be told advice and be like, okay, fine, I won't do this. Okay, fine. I won't touch the iron. I won't go on that date. I won't text him again. And as soon as your friends turn around, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just like, like you are ironing. You are touching that iron. You are trying to do the things that you know that you should not be doing. And that is just, I think, a part of human nature. And we learn better from our own lessons than we learn from trying to do things ourselves that we learn from trying to give it a go and be like, am I better than everyone else? No. Okay, I'm still a human. I still got burnt. That's okay. That's fine. Tip number 3 is the exact same. Do not get overconfident in the industries that you invest in. One of the pitfalls that I see a lot of investors make, especially when I tell people I'm a venture investor, I'm an angel investor, a lot of Americans will be like, oh, what industry are you investing in? And I think coming from New Zealand, where the investment market to begin with was quite small, you kind of have to learn a little bit of everything. And so I'd be like, oh, I'm quite a general investor. My qualifications lie in the healthcare sector. So I'm really comfortable if I read about a company using, animal cells or stem cells to, create tissue. I understand that easily, but I like to invest in a bit of everything. And I think the mistake happens when you start thinking to yourself, I am a specialist in EV. I am a specialist in AI. I know everything about this industry, and therefore I will invest in it as if I know more information than Wall Street. And I always think if you start talking like that to yourself, red flag, take a step back. We are just mortal beings here. So I ended up thinking at the time my Tesla shares did so well that I was like, I understand electric vehicles as if I was on the floor manufacturing Teslas. I don't know what I thought. I don't know why I was like, yeah, NIO and Rivian, best bets. I invested in both of those companies, NIO and Rivian. They were one of my worst performing shares, Rivian being the worst performing share I've ever had in my investment portfolio. It was down 80%. I think I invested $500. I lost $480, something really sad. But it taught me a good lesson, and I guess it was a $500 lesson and not a $500,000 lesson or a $5,000 lesson. So even though I'm telling you these things, you might still try and do them. You might be like, well, Sim, I did really well with NVIDIA, so I'm going to go and find more chip manufacturing companies or more AI related companies because this is the next trend. This is the next wave. And I feel like I really understand them. And to that I say, my sweet child, I understand that you want to touch the hot iron, and I can tell you not to touch the hot iron, but you probably still will. So rather than telling you what not to do, let me share with you what to do around it. If you're still going to do it, if you're still going to invest in companies that you're like, yes, I'm I don't know, I think it might do well, do not invest anything that you are not prepared to lose. $500 is a lot of money to lose in the market. But if I had invested $50, it would not have hurt at all. I would have been like, okay, I put in $50, it's worth $1. That's fine. I can move on. I can get past it. But $500, that could have been so many different things. That could have been a weekend away. And don't get me started on comparing it to how many hours I have worked and how much I have lost in that. So invest. Try not to get overconfident. You probably will, and that's okay. But don't put too much money where your mouth is. This is not the time to be like, I know that this company is going to do well and I am risking all my life savings on it. We don't want that for you. But we want you to try and invest in different things that you think are interesting, but smaller amounts of money, $10, $20, $30, and keeping the bulk of your portfolio in a large, broad market index fund. The 4th tip that I would tell myself if I was looking at my younger self, she was sitting across from me, I was shaking her, and I would say this. I would be like, bonds are great, Sim, but do not buy too many of them. You do not need them. You are in your teens. You are in your 20s. Do not worry about it. Because when I started investing, all the conventional advice, if I was talking to my younger self, I probably still would say, hey, you should know about bonds. Bonds are, think of them like a little contract that you have with a large company or a government, and you give them, let's say, $100, $1,000, and they give that money back to you guaranteed. Well, not completely guaranteed, but more likely than not. And they'll give you a small interest rate on it, a 2% or a 3%. Now, that is a really good idea if you are looking to invest in a more safer way. But I think I was kidding myself when I thought that I was investing in a more balanced portfolio style. So a balanced portfolio might be 50% bonds and 50% public shares. But now in hindsight, I was not at a stage in my life where I needed bonds because I was not investing for a short term. Yes, when I was buying my first home and I was putting money into the share market to build a deposit up, that's when I was kind of a little bit more conservative, but eventually, I'm investing until I retire, and hopefully I'm retiring early, like earlier than my 50s. So for me, trying to have bonds now when I have, like another 10, 20 years of investing, that's not important to me. And bonds are something I'm glad I understood about, and I'm glad that they were there. But my investment style is a little bit more risky. So I think I just needed to accept that and accept that I was willing to take on the risk, because if I had huge dips in the market, I was eventually comfortable with it. I think if I was speaking to my younger self and she was maybe more timid or more nervous about the market, I would say buy some bonds what's the best way to describe it? Bonds are like life jackets, maybe not like a full life jacket, maybe like a loose life jacket where like if things are sinking and things aren't going well, the bonds kind of keep you afloat for a little bit. But in the way that a loose life jacket still kind of like falls off you, when you put on a life jacket and it just feels like you're like, this is not secure. A life jacket, but the buckles aren't clipped. That is what a bond is. It will help save you from completely falling if the market does poorly, but it is not like a foolproof way. The only foolproof way of making sure that you do not lose money is investing it in a high yield savings account with a good bank that has a good credit score, like a bank credit rating of a AA or AAA. But if you want to see larger gains, that's when bonds, that's when shares, that's when funds play a good part. The fifth tip that I would teach my younger self if I saw her and she was starting investing is if you are looking at investing in individual companies, understand who their CEO is and understand what their vision is and where they've come from. Because if you are looking at investing in a company and you think, oh, like it's really great, but the CEO is kind of weird and they do some odd stuff, and every time he's on the news or every time she's on the news, like the shares always plummet, so they always say stupid things. Sounds like someone we know, sounds like someone I used to invest in, then that is a really, really hard thing. I don't think I understood or even appreciated how much leadership and how much CEOs play such a huge part in a company moving forward. Like, you can have a great product. You can have great marketing. You can have great customer service. But if the person steering the ship or driving the boat or whatever it is like throwing it off a cliff, it doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter how much they spend in research and development. It does not matter if there is a cult-like following. The leadership of a company is so, so important. If that's kind of hard to imagine, just think about a job you've had where you've had a bad manager. A bad manager is so detrimental that you don't want to turn up to work. You don't want to give it your 100%. You're scared to share ideas. And so bad management leads to poor execution. It leads to more mistakes. It leads to more people like being scared to like share ideas, and therefore you're not innovating, you're not growing. You become like Nokia and you're like, oh my God, we were really good at what we did. But instead of being like, hey, everyone's moving to smartphones, like should we move? And having Nokia's like leadership team being like, no, smartphones are a fad. Like, we'll deal with this later. Like, that is not going to work. And leadership can be the difference between something doing really well and something not. I think a really great example of this is when Blockbuster was everywhere. And for our younger besties, Blockbuster, can't believe I'm explaining this, was like a chain of stores where you could go and rent out DVDs. So back in our day, if we wanted to watch a movie, had to go to a store and pick out the movie off a shelf. First it was VCR, then it became DVD, and we would then bring it home and put it into the DVD player and watch it and then return it. So Blockbuster was a store where you could do that. Netflix started as a competitor to Blockbuster, and when the founder of Netflix went to Blockbuster to pitch it to them and say, hey, we've got this like shipping service where we ship the DVDs and people can like put it in a mailer and ship it back, the founder of Blockbuster laughed at him and like asked them to leave. And then as we know now, Blockbuster has closed almost all of their stores. I think they are almost closing their final store. If not, they've already closed it. And Netflix grew to one of the largest companies because they continue to innovate, and they realized instead of shipping CDs, they were able to just put them online and have people pay a subscription. Leadership makes such a difference in the companies that you invest in. So I always recommend, if I was talking to my younger self, look into the CEO, look where they've worked before. A good CEO is rewarded. Like if a new CEO comes in, shares get risen that same day because investors are like, oh my God, yes. Like when the CEO of Starbucks resigned and a new CEO came on who was the CEO of Chipotle, and we'll do an episode on Chipotle on another day, shares went up 25%. Like people were like, yes, we love this man. And shares went up 25% of Starbucks because people were like, he's going to fix Starbucks. Will he? I don't know. Time will tell. But that is my final tip. So again, if I was speaking to my younger self, I'd tell her investing is very anticlimactic. Invest in individual companies. That's fine. But keep it less than 10 to 20% of your overall portfolio. Try not to get overconfident about an industry that you're investing in. Bonds are great, but I don't really use them that much. And leadership is very important in the companies that you invest in. And with that, we'll wrap up the episode. But I wanted to say thank you so much for watching to the end or listening to the end. It means a lot. Remember to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you could do one thing for me, it is take a screenshot, send this to a friend, put it on your Instagram story and tag us, because it is the best and largest way that we can continue to get the podcast to grow. And that means more people find us, more people learn how to become investors and lead a wealthier life. And what more can we ask for? So with that, I'll see you next Tuesday.